Just think about that for a second. That one sentence from a lawyer talking about his own client tells you everything you need to know about how far a belief can go. This isn't just about politics. This is about a mission. And that idea is right at the heart of what we're going to unpack. So today, we're going to dig deep into the whole QAnon phenomenon. We're talking about a movement that really started in the dark corners of the internet, but has since stepped out into the light, and it's brought some very, very real consequences with it. And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? How in the world does something that starts as a digital whisper on some anonymous website become a roar so loud that it actually pushes people to commit crimes, and in some cases, some pretty serious violence? Let's get into it. Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this, we have to start at square one. What exactly is QAnon? What is the fundamental belief that gets this whole thing moving? All right, so at its heart, QAnon is this massive, sprawling conspiracy theory, but it all really boils down to this one central claim, that there's a secret group of evil elites, the cabal, doing absolutely terrible things, and that former President Trump is the hero secretly fighting a war to stop them. You know, what's really fascinating here is that QAnon didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It actually has roots in an earlier conspiracy theory from 2016 called Pizzagate. Now, that one ended with a man literally walking into a pizza place with a rifle to self-investigate. That event was a huge warning sign. Then, just a year later, the first Q post drops, and the movement as we know it today was born. So, who is this mysterious Q? Well, the name itself is a huge part of the appeal. See, Q clearance is a real thing. It's an actual top-level security clearance in the US government. So by using that name, whoever this poster was, they immediately gave off this vibe of being a government insider, someone with access to all the deepest secrets. But you know, just understanding the core belief, that's only part of the puzzle. The way QAnon spreads is what makes it so different. It's not like anything we've really seen before. This right here, this one simple phrase, is basically the engine for the entire movement. There's no single leader handing out orders. Instead, it's all about this one idea: do your own research. Followers are encouraged to piece together cryptic clues, or Q drops, and connect the dots all by themselves. And you can really see the difference here. On the one hand, you have traditional groups which are very top-down. A leader gives a command and people follow. But QAnon is the opposite. It's a decentralized, leaderless network. The FBI even calls it a form of crowdsourcing, where the followers themselves build the story. And that structure is what makes it so hard to stop, because there's no head of the snake to cut off. So you have this leaderless belief system spreading like wildfire online. But the critical question is, what happens when it jumps off the screen and into the real world? That's when things get serious. And seeing an image like this, a Q flag flying right next to the American flag, that's incredibly significant. It's a very deliberate attempt to blend the conspiracy with patriotism, to frame this whole thing as a fight for the soul of the country. And these consequences are anything but theoretical. There's a clearer pattern here. You've got Matthew Wright, who used an armored truck to block a bridge, Anthony Comello, the man from that very first quote, and Jessica Prim, who drove halfway across the country armed with knives. The connection between what's believed online and what's done offline is, well, it's undeniable. 20 days. Just let that number sink in. In the case of Jessica Prim, that's all the time it took, just 20 days, to go from her first known interaction with QAnon content online to getting arrested for making violent threats. The speed of radicalization can be absolutely breathtaking. So how does that even happen so fast? Well, our sources point to a kind of four-step pipeline. It all starts with discovery. Maybe you see a documentary or a post on social media. Then comes the research, where you start going down that rabbit hole, connecting the Q drops. That leads to legitimation, the moment you start to believe that action is not only justified, but necessary. And for a few, that final step is offline action. But there's another layer here, and to really get the driving force behind all this, you have to understand an element that's often missed, and that's the almost religious nature of the movement. I mean, just look at this symbol, fusing the letter Q with the Christian cross. It's not exactly subtle, right? This is an explicit effort to turn a political conspiracy into something spiritual, something like a sacred duty. Researchers actually have a name for this. They call it a pseudo-Christian extremist movement. And what that means is that the movement basically hijacks the language, the symbols, and the apocalyptic feeling of Christianity to paint its political struggle as a cosmic holy war. And they do this by pulling verses straight out of the Bible. Take this post, for example. It uses a quote from Ephesians telling followers to put on the armor of God. Only in this context, the devil they're supposed to be fighting isn't some spiritual demon, it's the political deep state. And this right here perfectly illustrates that stark good versus evil story they're telling. On the one side, you have a beautiful, comforting Bible verse. On the other, you have this symbol of a satanic enemy. It creates a simple but incredibly powerful narrative. This is a battle between God's chosen people and a demonic cabal. And this is probably the most critical takeaway of all. What started out as a fringe internet curiosity has absolutely not stayed there. It has broken through and moved firmly into the mainstream. You can see its slogans being used by high-profile political figures. You can see the rise of actual QAnon churches that are set up for formal indoctrination. And this isn't just an American thing either. It's gone global, with followers everywhere from Germany to Australia. And just chew on this number for a second. Over 60. During the 2020 election cycle, more than 60 candidates running for the U.S. Congress voiced some level of support for QAnon. That shows a direct pipeline from an anonymous internet forum to the holes of power. And listen, this isn't just an observation. It's a serious security concern. The FBI itself issued a report explicitly warning that these kinds of conspiracy theories are a real and growing threat, saying they will, and this is a direct quote, very likely motivate some people to commit violent acts. Which really leaves us with this final, incredibly difficult question. In an age where reality itself can feel like it's being crowdsourced by anonymous people online, when those beliefs jump off the screen and cause real-world harm, who's responsible? That's the tough question we're all left to figure out.